a good night of sleep for me was like 3, 4, 5 hours would be like a really good night. The more I tried to control or fix my sleep, the worse it got. We did the blackout curtains, different pillows, blue light mitigation, no screens after 8 p.m. I did all the things during this time. Like I was reading scripture, I was praying.
What did prayer look like for you at that time?
I felt like God was someone far off who I had displeased. We were hosting a few couples at our house and everyone was going around crying and talking about how good God had been. And I told the whole group, I was like, I hear what you guys are saying. It's really nice, like nice words. But I haven't felt the presence of God in years.
Insomnia for 5 years, sleepless nights, far from God. How did you get to where you are today?
Yeah. So I'm going to give you some super practical things. First,
we're going to dive deeper into something that we've touched on before because it's a part of our story. It was a big part of your story. Sleeplessness, anxiety, insomnia. I mean, this in your book, Words with God, which is such a good book. I just love this book. I really do.
nice.
You're a wonderful human and you wrote a great book.
Thank you.
But you spoke a bit about the insomnia and that season. And I know I was there.
You were there. You were literally in
You
bed
were a
with
part
me.
of it. I was asleep though, or nursing.
And I would resent you for that sometimes. Like they were my worst moments, but you know, I would resent you sometimes. Like, how do you get to sleep like this? Well, I'm up all night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I would be up in a couple hours nursing.
Yeah.
And we're not in that anymore.
Yeah.
That was a season. And I'm very thankful that we can look back on it and see that it was a valley that we went through, that we're not still camped out there. And so I want to dive into that, what you learned, what God showed you through that time, because my hope is that those of you who are hearing this, you're like, that must be so nice that it was a season you once lived, but this is still my reality. Maybe you frantically YouTube searched, I can't sleep, what can I do? Because that is what you want to do during the day, is try to solve the problem of sleeplessness during the night when you don't have you're not able to think straight. It's like,
okay, let me make sure I understand what you just said, because I think you said you're trying to solve it during the day.
yes.
So we're trying to solve why we give ourselves over to insomnia at night during the day. Like when it's clear you're saying, do people try to figure it out at night, in the middle of the night, when things are shrouded and confused?
You frantically try to figure it out at night, but then during the day is when you are more so able to say, hop on YouTube and search, I can't sleep at night, what will help?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking, is that there's people tuning into this who have come to this video. Maybe they don't even know us, but they're just desperate for some kind of help with a lack of sleep that's happening in their life.
Yeah. Okay, let's do it. Let's dive in.
Let's do it. Do you want me to start? I'm going to read an excerpt from your own book.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's not awkward.
It's not. The nights were the worst. I knew the sleepiness that seemed to overtake me at 10 p.m. was only an illusion, and that the moment I put my head on the pillow, my need for control would cause me to trade sleep for insomnia. My night hours spent in desperate attempts to bandage the fractures in my world. Talk about that.
Yeah, well, this season for me was a 5-year season. Started in 2014, went to 2019, and a good night of sleep for me was like 3, 4, 5 hours would be like a really good night of sleep, and you get used to it. But for the people who you're there, you understand that you live in a perpetual fog. I would live with a perpetual shake too. Like I always felt like I was shaking. I was never settled. And you know this, I tried so many different things. We did the blackout curtains, different pillows, blue light mitigation, no screens after 8 p.m. of any kind, no water after 8 p.m., magnesium, prescriptions. I mean, we did all sorts of things.
You dabbled in some CBD gummies.
Dabbled in CBD products.
We did live in
We
Colorado.
did no THC, but we did dabble in some of the products, and it was one of those things where I feel like the more I tried to control or fix my sleep, the worse it got. And I realized in this season, Julie, I realized something, that God has a way of not delivering us from a thing if he knows that ultimately that thing will deliver us to him. And I write about it in this chapter, but it was during the season where I felt completely abandoned by God. And that was a part of the reason why I started grasping for control of my world. And somewhere, somehow, I developed the belief that I could trade my nights to get a jump on my world. And my day world, if you will, felt so far beyond my grasp that I felt like I had to trade nights to just be the kind of person I needed to be for my job, for my family, for my marriage, whatever life was throwing at me. I just felt inadequate to show up how I needed to show up.
When you sign up with Good Ranchers and you have a freezer full of quality meat, it really takes the guesswork out of, should we go out to grab something or should we just cook at home? I mean, they even come in these bags that make thawing it super accessible. For example, we have people coming over tonight and Addison said, let's just grab pizza. Instead, I just stuck the chicken, started thawing it. I'll season it and grill it up when we get home. I love that Good Ranchers gives us the opportunity to eat more meals at home.
And what's amazing, Julie, right now, if y'all use the code ATHOME, you get $40 off your first order. So go check it out. GoodRanchers.com, American Meat Delivered.
Did you feel abandoned by God before the insomnia or after?
Yeah, I would say the seed started before, but then it accelerated when I started to struggle to sleep.
Talk to me a bit more about that seed.
The seed? Just believing as things started to add to my world, additional responsibilities, having our third kid, moving into our first house. There was just all of these stressors. And I hit critical mass. And then I didn't know how to recover a healthy relationship with life. Like I just lost myself in that critical mass. And I started to develop really poor habits. And then by the time I realized, man, I'm living very foolishly. Like I knew that I was being dumb, but I didn't know how to do anything different. Like I was so caught in this cycle that I didn't know how to exit the cycle.
Like what were those habits?
Well, what I was describing earlier, but genuinely believing that I was so far behind in life that I had to trade sleep to get a grip on my world.
So it was more of a mental habits than physical, natural habits.
Yeah, but the mental turned to physical, natural, where I would do work in the middle of the night. Or I remember one time I went into the office at 2 a.m. in the morning. I'm like, why am I at the office at 2 a.m. in the morning? Just things like that, where it's like, well, I can't sleep, so I might as well just work. And then you start to see, oh, there's so much work, or there's so many things that I need to do, or the type of person I need to be for my children, for my wife, for my friends, for my family. And I just got caught in this anxiety. And I would wake up and my heart would be racing, I would be sweating, and I would just always feel like I wasn't enough for life. And I had never struggled with sleep before this. Like sleep had always been something that came really easily to me. And over these 5 years, I really did feel like God had abandoned me. I did. And I've always been someone who's been pretty smart and capable of holding things together in my own strength, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Firstborn,
good grades, all the things. But the one is like, oh, Addison, he can do it. Like, we'll give it to Addison. He'll take care of it.
The sister from Encanto.
Yes. Yes.
What is that song?
I don't remember. But
Pressure.
Yes. Yeah, pressure.
Yeah.
I definitely lived that in so many ways. And I took on weight that I didn't even need to take on, right? Like there was legitimate weight, and then there were things I just perceived as being weight that I needed to carry. And it got to the point where like, I legitimately could not carry the weight of my life. Like I just couldn't, but I didn't know how to turn to God.
Hmm.
And frankly, I thought like when people are like, you just need to trust God. I'm like, you're lazy or you have a light load. That was basically my response to those people. Like you're either lazy and you're not really doing anything, or like legitimately what you're doing just isn't that complicated. It's actually pretty easy. So like you're good.
Like God can handle
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah. No, even like you don't really need God. So you just like say, oh, you trust God, but really
So it's
like,
just lip service.
yeah, just lip service. That was my, which is so dumb, but that was my response. But then like I went through a season where I legitimately could not do what was before me to a point where it broke me down. And I had to learn in that season, like, is peace found in having all of the answers, knowing all the things, doing all this stuff? Or is peace found when we're in tune with the one who is the answer to any challenge, to any question? Because I was scared of the unknown. I was anxious about what I couldn't control.
Hmm.
I was terrified about what was beyond my grasp. And frankly, like I could grasp a lot of things. Like so I was a pretty proficient grasper
Yeah.
until I wasn't. And then it was, man, I felt so pathetic and weak and confused and lost. And then, that cycle of being like, why am I like this? Why am I so weak? Why
What's
am I
wrong with
pathetic?
me?
What's
Yeah.
wrong with me? Why do other people have this figured out? And then that self-consciousness, that voice of accusation gets really loud, gets really noisy. And you just get caught in a cycle of performance, and then it's I'm never doing enough. I'm not enough. Why am I not better at this? I need to learn something. I need to figure something out. I need to become something more, and then I'll be able to master it. Then I'll be okay. And you feed that
Yeah.
until it destroys you.
Yeah. And we had 3 small kids. We had just had our third
Yeah.
in 2014.
Yeah.
So around the same
Yeah.
time.
All of these events happened within a month. Like there was a health thing. There was a mentor of mine who basically like abandoned me in a really critical season, and it was just like very painfully. We moved into our first house, and like which I felt like was beyond our ability to afford. I felt like financial pressure. I mean, there's so many things that hit me in that season, and I legitimately just stopped sleeping.
But it built over time incrementally, because you writing about it has caused me to need to look back on it. 'Cause I'm like, I don't remember it being 5 years, but living it and living by
I would
it.
try to hide it because I was so embarrassed, and I would let
What
you.
were you embarrassed about?
Like I'm so embarrassed that I can't sleep. It's like children can sleep, and I can't sleep. Like this is ridiculous. And so I didn't want to bring you in, but there were legitimately days where it's like I felt like I couldn't function, and that's when I would bring you in. You and Matt were the only 2 people that I would talk to about it, because I was so embarrassed. But I rarely even talked to you 2 about it because I didn't. I tried to hide it as best as I could. But how it began, it was 3 days of not being able to sleep. I went 3 straight days without. So it was a very extreme moment, and then it just never settled after that for me.
Hmm.
And I would have a night like where I would, after being up consistently like 5-6 days, I'd have a night where I would sleep okay, but then I'd be right back at it after that.
I mean, I remember it hitting it's really like bad season, probably the final 2 years where we were coming out of like crazy newborn. Well, at that point we had another newborn.
Yeah, no, like you really can't rationalize it. Like there were things during these seasons that were happening in our lives. We had 2 kids during this. Um, but it was, yes, those were factors and they contributed to what was going on inside of me. But it was like God was breaking down something inside of me in that season.
So tell me about that. Well, tell me about the breaking point from this 5 years of insomnia where you are just barely making it through each day, dreading the nights. And then what did breakthrough look like for you?
Well, I do write about this a bit in Words with God. It became, this struggle became the launching pad really for how I understand prayer and how I understand how God meets us in pain.
Yeah.
Like I had a very different idea about prayer before I went through this season.
What was your idea before you
Very
went through?
performative, very transactional, always feeling like I was bad at prayer. And it's been amazing since writing Words with God. I've had so many people who are in their 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s reach out to me and say things like I've been asking these questions my entire life. And like now I feel like I'm at peace. I had one lady reach out to me and say, I've never experienced the presence of God in my life. I've been a Christian since I was in my 20s. And now I'm in my 80s, and after reading this, I'm experiencing a closeness to God that I didn't even think was possible.
Wow.
And so like that for me, when I look at it, I'm like, God, like thank you for your patience and your graciousness through this season, because this place of pain for me has become really a passion for purpose. And even I look at like what consumes me now when it comes to like the goodness and faithfulness of God and the character of God really is that place of connection, how God wants to speak to us outside of or beyond like our self-conscious loop, our mental safeguards of like how God works and who he is and what he does and what he doesn't do, like how he wraps us and brings us to this place of surrender where we don't know him through mounting our ladder of logic. We are known by him through this surrender that then transforms or transfigures our ability to understand him and receive from him and see him at work in our life. And so it's become a place of like just such sweet sensitivity and closeness. And I talk about it in Words with God, but I went 5 years without like really feeling any emotional attachment to God. Like any kind of
Because
emotional.
you started implementing what your concept of prayer was and it didn't work?
Yeah, no, like I did all the things during this time. Like I was reading scripture, I was praying the way I knew how to pray. Like I really was faithful in the way that I knew how to
What
be
did
faithful.
prayer look like for you at that time?
I would say like the typical prayer, like going through a list or whatever I felt like I was supposed to pray for, praying with my team, going through the motions when we pray together at the office, things like that. But I just felt extremely disconnected. I didn't feel like God was near. I felt like God was someone far off who I had displeased in some form or fashion in a way that I couldn't even articulate. And the distance was the byproduct of his displeasure. Again, and I had this sense of like, I probably deserve his displeasure.
Wow.
You know? And so of course he's distanced himself. And I remember we were hosting a group, your idea, not mine, of a few couples at our house, and everyone was going around crying and talking about how good God had been. And it's one of those awkward things where everyone's sharing, and I didn't share.
Go around the
You go around the circle. I didn't share. I'm like, I'm not sharing anything. And then you like kept elbowing me, and like basically you need to share. And I was like, fine, I'll share. And I told the whole group, I was like, I hear what you guys are saying. It's really nice, like nice words, but I haven't felt the presence of God in years, and I feel like God has completely abandoned me. And like I remember a time like when I felt close, but it was so long ago that it feels like a shadow of reality. And I remember this is an amazing group of people, like still friends with all of these people to this day. And I remember that y'all didn't try to rationalize it. You didn't try to like convince me of something different. Y'all came around me, and I don't know if you remember, came around and prayed. And one of them actually gave me like a very specific like prophetic word that he sensed while he was praying for me. Nothing weird, but just something like, I see something happening inside of you right now, and you think that like this distance is going to define you, but actually God is bringing you into a place where you're going to be so close to him, and then also your closeness is going to lead to a service. And it's just like very clearly speaking to what has happened, and I believe what is continuing to happen. So
that gathering really was important. It was like a seed of hope was deposited within you.
Yeah.
Even the way you're talking about it right now.
Yeah.
Where there was this grander vision than I'm going to be trapped in the prison of insomnia the rest of my life. Something started to break through, would you say?
Yeah, but not in a conscious, like not on my conscious level whatsoever. Like
But for you to even put language to what you were going through, to not keep it in this shameful place of what's wrong with me that I I'm not strong enough. I'm not capable enough. I'm not
Yeah.
holy enough.
Yeah.
God's displeased. To be able to say, I feel like God's displeased with me is
Yeah.
bold.
Yeah. Well, Julie, I mean, it was at that point where I was starting to feel like I didn't care. Again, like I did care, you know what I mean? But it's like I didn't know how to care. Like I wanted to care. It's not that I didn't want to be close to God. Frankly, I just felt like God had removed himself from the equation. And I was convinced that I had done something to kick him, like his active presence in my life. Like I understand the tenets of the faith, his omnipresence. I get all that. But what I'm saying is that close demonstration, right? Like that evidence that he is near, that he is for me, that he is with me, that he is doing something in my life that connects my heart to his and wraps my everyday and his purpose and his will and his intent. All of that, I just felt very removed from it.
Yeah. When you heard messages along those lines, what happened inside of you?
It was just painful.
Hmm.
Yeah. I would check out largely. And it was painful for me. And I would think like, oh man, you know, people like, again, it went back to this idea of I was very isolated. Like no one was like me. You know, it's fascinating because the voice of the accuser is really good at that. He's great at isolating people. He isolates us in our pain. When in fact, pain is actually supposed to bring us together. Like when we're open with our pain, we realize, oh, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. A part of the comfort is that, hey, we identify with each other in our pain. I think about 2 Corinthians 1, where Paul is describing God as the God of all comfort, who comforts us so that we can be an extension of comfort to others. And you start to realize like the power of God working through the brokenness of pain during this age and how it prepares us to be stewards of a purpose that doesn't leave pain behind. Because it's so easy to just like create a squeaky clean version of reality and not take an honest look at the pain, the brokenness, the confusion, the disorientation, the loss, whatever it is. And you know, I've shared this before, and you've heard me preach this in a message, but Psalm 89:15, where it says, "Blessed are those who know." The teruah is what it is in Hebrew, and the teruah with a shofar. We don't have a shofar, you know. Otherwise, maybe
I can make a shofar
no,
noise.
don't do it. Just don't do it. But no, that was not. That wasn't a very good one for what this is. But the teruah is the low note of the shofar. Yeah, the really like low guttural sound of the shofar. And what it's used for is like almost a sound of pain, like guttural pain. I think about Romans 8 when Paul's describing the prayers of the Spirit. Like they can't even be articulated. They come from the depths of who we are. It's a groaning. It's beneath our conscious understanding of our pain. But there's something down there that is broken, that is crying out, that is longing to be understood. I think about Psalm 42, the idea of deep calling to deep. There's a knowing there. It's not certainty calling to certainty. It's not clarity calling to clarity. It's deep calling to deep. But there's a way of knowing and being known at that place when we surrender it that then rises into our conscious understanding.
Oh, it's so scary,
It's
though.
so scary. It's so scary. But
people do not want to let themselves go there. It feels like a pit you will tumble into and never get out of.
It is true. It can feel like that. But the reality is, I think there's a part of us that knows the structure that we've built, right? The tenuous structure that we've built, the safety of what we could control, the world that we make, at some point it's going to fall apart.
Yeah.
And it's like what Jesus said, look, you're either throwing yourself on the rock or the rock's falling on you. But either way, you're doing business with the rock. Like you're not getting away from the rock. And he is the rock. He is the rock of reality, the rock of truth. And we either throw ourselves on it, we surrender to it, or reality will crush us. And so for me, this is a situation where like reality was crushing me because I didn't want to throw myself on the rock. Like that's what I was living in. But going back to Psalm 89, it says,
and it was just perpetuating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Psalm 89, it says, "Blessed are those who know the teruah." So that deep sound, that broken note. So the teruah is a broken low note, and it starts like kind of faint and weak, but deep. And then it rises with clarity and sound, and then it's a strong warlike
Cry.
reverberation.
Yeah.
Like it's so strong. So it goes down low and then it rises. So the teruah is this idea of like you go down low into your pain. You do not deny your pain, but you defy your pain and you rise out of it. And it says, blessed are those who know the teruah, for they walk in the light of your presence. You see reality in all its brokenness through the light or the illumination of God with us, of the reality that He is Lord, even of the valleys, even of the pain. And that is the teruah. And so I love this. It's this idea of we will not acknowledge like the pain, then if we don't find the capacity to mourn, we cannot develop the audacity to shout. So think of it
Wow.
like that. Like if you won't go down and develop that capacity to mourn, to feel, you will not find the real language that is the strong, prophetic, declarative language that shouts God's goodness and His faithfulness despite whatever is happening. It's not like this happy-go-lucky, I'm denying reality. It's like, no, you've actually stared reality in the face and you've realized what is most true is actually the faithfulness and the goodness of God. We talk about it as costly joy.
Yeah.
Like it's not a cheap joy. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to be happy because I'm supposed to be happy. And in this season, Jules, I discovered a closeness to God that now brings me to my knees and brings me to a place of like lightness. And I've never been closer to tears in my entire life. Just like, it's almost pathetic, like how quickly I will start crying at different things. And it's like, there's such a sensitivity. Like everything that I lost came back so much stronger than what it was before this season. Like, so I love what Lewis says. He says, there's nothing that we don't surrender to God, that He doesn't return to us more truly who we are, more true to who we are, right? And I've seen that personally. I've seen that in my life. Now, can I get practical?
Yes, because here you are, insomnia for 5 years, sleepless nights, far from God. How did you get to where you are today?
Yeah. So a few
If
things.
you could give them 3 steps.
I'm not going to give you 3 steps, but I'm going to give you some super practical things. I actually just had a conversation with someone. I was speaking at a church in Idaho, and the pastor reached out to me because one of his close friends was going to be in town, and this friend of his has been navigating insomnia for 5 years, and he's familiar with my story, and so he reached out. I was like, "Hey, can you just connect with this friend?" And I've had the gift now ever since I've shared this, Julie. I've heard from so many people who struggle with insomnia. Like I thought, here I was alone, just kind of like this guy.
That goes back to what you said, isolation.
So many people who struggle with insomnia. And so we've had conversations, and I gave him. I'm going to give you all some of the things I gave to him, and that I've given to other people that has been really helpful. I want to remind us when it comes to sleep, sleep is not something that we grasp; it's something that we're grasped by. So we don't get to be in control of how we go to sleep. So there's a few things I had to learn about sleep that completely changed how I understand going to sleep. First, God showed me that the night belongs to Him; it doesn't belong to me. So any activity that I was doing, any kind of work, I was actually infringing on God's time. So think about the way a Hebrew would understand the night. The night was actually the first movement of the day. So the day began when the sun went down. So the night was the first movement of the day. It was a time of connecting around the table, and then rest. For them, they literally lived in a world where wild animals and raiders could invade them in the middle of the night. So for them to go to bed at night was an act of trust. And what God started to show me was when I go to bed at night, I'm actually trusting Him to do work while I'm sleeping that I cannot do when I'm awake. Work within and work without. For Him to do work in the world and to do work within my world. Then, Julie, I discovered a lot about brain science and how when we're asleep at night, specifically in deep sleep, which is like the delta, like that, and that's purely has to do with the speed of your brain waves, the frequency of brain waves. Delta sleep, you're actually, God designed our bodies to purify themselves in that state. So cellular waste is being purified. Your limbic system, which is your trauma response, is being regulated. You're synthesizing memories and experiences and understandings to create a coherent soul story, if you will, an understanding of who you are and what you're doing and what it's all about. I love what the poet Wendell Berry says. He says that sleep is the prayer the body prays. And so we're entering into this place of sleep. It's actually prayer. It's surrendering this time to God.
Yeah.
And so I told the enemy, I said, hey, if you wake me up at night, the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pray. Because I realized this time belonged to God. So I'm like, if you wake me up, I'm not going to worry. I'm not going to work. If I do worry, I'm going to turn that into a request, but I'm not going to do all I'm going to do is I'm going to pray. And Julie, I started doing that and things started to change. The enemy stopped waking me up. That self-conscious loop, the voice of the accuser, it stopped going. It slowed down. I also started reading more fiction at night when I was going to bed, just as a natural transition, like getting out of my world of having to solve everything and activating that my understanding of story and metaphor in a world that is bigger than mine, activating the right hemisphere and its understanding of the world and reality.
Like classic literature. Not trashy fiction.
No. I mean, most of the stuff I would read was 1800s, if I'm being honest. Good, where you're going to keep reading it, but not good
but it's going to keep you awake.
That's the perfect place. And so I did that. And I read hundreds of books from that time period. And that was really meaningful for me. And so doing that was a big part of it. And then I realized, y'all, and this is going to seem so simple, I realized that insomnia is less about how you go to bed at night and more about how you wake in the morning.
I love this.
So you cannot control how you go to bed. You can't. Like what I shared earlier, you can't control like how you transition into sleep. We can't grasp sleep. In fact, if you ever tried to grasp, like force yourself to go to sleep,
like you have an early alarm.
Yeah, like it'll mess with your ability to go to sleep.
I mean, there is sleep hygiene that
100%
facilitates.
Listen, I did all this sleep hygiene though. It didn't work. I mean, I was like the most clean sleep hygiene person and I couldn't sleep. But here's what I tell people, you can't surrender how you wake in the morning.
Yeah. And
so what I started to do is like, look, my first movement of the day, regardless of how I sleep, it's going to look like this. And so I started giving that to God, the first movement of the day, in a way that was like, I'm surrendering, I'm giving this to you, God. I developed really healthy practices in the morning, would not touch my phone for at least an hour after waking up. I've been doing this for years. And all of that really helped change how I go to bed at night. Like now I have a book that I read at night on my Kindle, but like the last week, I haven't even been able to read a page. I've been asleep every single night before I've gotten through the page. And y'all don't understand. Like you might be like, that's such a big deal for me because I used to be someone who could not fall asleep at night. And if I did fall asleep, I would wake up at like 1, 2, 3 a.m., like the hour of the wolf, depending on when you go to bed, when you're coming out of deep sleep and you're getting very close to waking up. If you're stressed, if you're anxious, you'll pop out. So you'll move out of that place of sleep and you'll wake up. And so now, I mean, every once in a while I'll pop out of sleep, but now I know, like if I pop out, it's just like, oh, okay. God, is there anything you want me to pray for? Because sometimes you have the watches of the night. It's like, is there anything I need to pray for? I'll pray. Like, oh no. And I'll fall back to sleep. And now sleep is not something I worry about, not something I think about. I'm not on anything. I don't take any special supplements. I'm actually pretty bad about sleep hygiene now. If I'm being completely honest with you, when it comes to night, I'm pretty, sometimes I'll watch something with the kids, whereas before I wouldn't watch anything with the kids. Like I'd make sure I had plenty of time between the last time I saw something on a screen and when I got to bed. I'll drink water really late at night now and be like, I know that sounds like, y'all, I know, but it's like, oh, if I drink water, if I have to get up in the middle of the night, like who cares? Like I'll go right back to sleep. For me, I used to think if I wake up in the middle of the night because I have to go to the bathroom, like I'm done. That's it. I'm up for the rest of the night.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds so crazy, but let me share something.
I'm just imagining someone being like, what are your biggest faults? Well, sometimes I drink water. Right before bedtime.
You wanted to talk about this because like the seasons of kids and everything that comes with that too, and sleepless nights. And I want to read Psalm 127 because I think this is such a great description of God's design for sleep mixed with purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at Psalm 127, this is a psalm of ascent, or like a psalm of pilgrimage, and it's Psalm 120 to 134. And these psalms, the pilgrims who were on this journey to Jerusalem, they would go through these psalms as a part of their pilgrimage, right? So think of these as pilgrimage psalms. And I love this. So that's the context. This is Psalm 127, 1. Unless the Lord builds the house, those who build it labor in vain. So unless God's the one building our lives, if we think like we have to be the masters of our fate,
Yeah.
then we're going to miss it. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the watchman stays awake in vain. And then verse 2, it says, it is in vain that you rise up early and go late to rest, eating the bread of anxious toil, for he gives to his beloved sleep. Now notice it says, eating the bread of anxious toil. In other words, anxiety has a sustenance until it doesn't.
Yeah.
Like it has an illusion of giving you a sense of control or a sense of doing something.
Or drive.
Or a sense of drive or power. But then it leaves you even more spent and more confused than you were before you gave into it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's in vain that you rise up early and go to bed late, eating this bread of anxious toil. Because why? Because he gives sleep. He gives to his beloved sleep. He gives it to us. It's a gift. This goes back to the language I was using about we're not grasping for it, we're being grasped by it.
Yeah.
We're saying, I want to receive this gift as an extension of you, your presence, your purpose for my life. And then it says, behold, the next verse. So he's like, hey, in light of this, look again. So when you read the word behold in scripture, it's almost this invitation, like be held by something in a way you've never been beheld by it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm going to hold you in a way where you see something that you haven't seen before. Literally means to like look again and to expect to see something new. Behold, children are a heritage from the Lord, the fruit of the womb a reward. Like arrows in the hand of a warrior are the children of one's youth. Blessed is the man who fills his quiver with them. He shall not be put to shame when he speaks with his enemies in the gate. So you see these themes woven together of sleep and children and promise and heritage.
Yeah.
And it all comes together like, hey, I'm building something in your life that is so spacious and purposeful and enlarging that if you try to grasp for it rather than being grasped by it, you're going to miss out on what I'm inviting you into.
Yeah.
And so for me, and I feel like I'm talking this entire episode.
It's good.
Okay. You're good?
Gems.
Okay. For me, when I'm looking at this, like ultimately, I had to come back to a place where the night, again, belongs to God. And it's in vain that I try to steal something that belongs to God, to try to build something for God. But in truth, I'm really just trying to like build something for myself instead of trusting God to build the house.
Yeah.
Build the house of my life, build the house of my family, build the house of my career, build the house of whatever it may be. And as I started to lean into that, Julie, stuff that used to cause me to lose sleep back then, now it's like, it's not even a big deal. Like not a big deal at all. I'm so much more resilient. I'm so much more aware of God's goodness and faithfulness. And I'm not saying there aren't moments where like, shoot, how is this going to happen? But I move through those so differently because I'm more cognizant of God's faithfulness and his goodness and his capacity to do things that far exceeds my capacity to understand them or work them out or plan for them or whatever it may be. And that actually frees me up to plan and to strategize and to show up in the ways that God is asking me to show up.
As a participant.
As a participant.
Yeah. Not as a performer.
Not as the hero and not as the villain. And you and I talk about this, like I use this language a lot, but the enemy is really good at being like, hey, you're the hero, you're the God, right? The idolatrous relationship with success, with whatever it may be, performance. And then when that doesn't work, he swings the pendulum.
You're the worst.
You're the worst. You're the villain. Like everything that doesn't work in this world is because of you.
Yeah.
And he just gets us to vacillate between those two extremes. Whereas God's like, I don't need you to be the hero. I don't need you to be the villain. I just want you to be a participant.
Yeah.
I want you to be willing. I want you to be obedient. I want you to be sensitive. I want you to be surrendered. And I don't even need you to do any of those things perfectly. I just want you to take a step in that direction. Even if you just surrender your will, like it says in Philippians 2, surrender your will in the model of Jesus, who though he was the greatest, humbled himself, and God gave him the name above every name. If you surrender your will, I will give you the will.
Yeah.
I will give you the strength. I will partner with you in ways that aren't even going to make sense to you. But then on the other side, you're going to look back, because it will make sense when you remember it, when you put that back together, the members of memory. When you look back, you're going to see me at work in ways where you're like, wow, God, you were speaking to me, you were working in me, you were working through me, but I didn't understand it because I didn't have the capacity to understand it. I didn't even have the capacity to ask for it. But as I look back, I see that you were doing it. So somehow you invaded my imperfection and answered prayers I didn't even know how to pray. You met me in moments so I didn't even know how you needed to meet me in those moments, but you met me there and you were faithful. Even when I was faithless, you were faithful.
Yeah.
And then what that does, it gives us the strength to look forward and be like, okay,
You're going to do it again.
let's do this.
Yeah.
God, let's go do this together. Let's have fun. I love this. And this verse has just been speaking to me the last couple years. It's Psalm 119, verse 92. It says, if I wouldn't have made your world my plaything, I would have perished in my pain. It's like, man, God wants you to make his world a plaything. Like this place where like you get to go play with him, be playful with purpose. I like to tell people life is too serious for you to take yourself too seriously. Like it just is. Like this is weighty. There's a gravitas to life and marriage and family and purpose. All of these things, like they are weighty. And that is why we have to give that weight to God, because we're not capable of carrying in our own strength. And if we do, we'll end up doing things like trading sleep for a semblance of control.
Yeah. And the tired version of ourselves is the worst version of ourselves.
It's miserable.
It is.
It's absolutely miserable. And so I want y'all to understand that sleep is something that God promises to give to his beloved.
Yeah.
But God will not give you the gift of a rest if you're just trying to use rest to perpetuate the idea that you're the one who holds everything together. Because my idea is like, God, give me rest tonight so I can essentially keep living this illusion of control, of me being a God, of this idolatrous relationship with myself and with my world. And so I want to challenge everyone who's listening. I want to challenge y'all, like in this posture of humility.
Mm-hmm.
I just say, God, I repent for grasping for control, for grasping for all the answers, for not allowing myself to be grasped by you, for not receiving the gift of rest as just that, a gift, for staying up late, for getting up early, for eating the bread of anxious toil. And it can be your language that is reflective of your situation, but I know that God is so close to the broken, to the humble, to the contrite, to those who say, God, I can't do this, I need you.
Yeah.
And a religious spirit will tell you need all the right answers, you need all the right forms in order for God to respond. A religious spirit essentially says you need to become God before you can get access to God, which is in itself so confusing. But that's really the spirit of religion. It's an idolatrous notion. And so I just want to encourage y'all right now, wherever you're at, just put your hands out and just surrender God to God right now in this moment. Be like, God, give me the sleep.
Yeah.
Give me the rest that only you give to me. And we live in a world where our smartphones try to convince us that we are omnipresent, that we are omniscient, that we are omnipotent. And so they feed this illusion that we can be God apart from God. And so all of us, we fall into that. Where it's like, God, you are God, I am not. I repent for trying to live in a way where I would be God and remove you and your presence and your power and your purpose from my life because I'm just grasping for control. So I want to pray that over people. I want to pray that God meets them in a way that is so tender and specific to them. And that as they go to sleep, that they would see that as God's time and receive, whether it's a small amount, like if they're in their season with small kids and they're getting up, whatever time that they get, that it would be so refreshing and energizing and
Yeah.
clarifying for
Yeah.
them.
I think that's a very wise filter for whatever content people are taking in. Does this feed the bread of anxious toil? Is what I'm feeding on anxious toil? Whether it's well-meaning resources, Christian resources. Again, that spirit of religion is sneaky. So for you to utilize that as a filter, like, is this anxious toil where I just feel the need for more and more and more, but I'm never satisfied?
Yeah.
I never come to this place of true rest.
Yeah. It's good.
Yeah. So thank you, Ad. And I just lean into this. Listen to that last bit again. Sit in silence with the Lord. Like, I don't want to build my life in vain. I don't want to participate in the relentless toil that constantly demands more while also telling me I'm not enough.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a good way to describe
Bring me the sleep of the beloved, where that reset, that beautiful reset where his mercies are new every morning, and we get to receive the new day for the gift that it truly is.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen.